Good morning. Good morning. One more time. Allow me to happen. Last Sunday, this Sunday, but I'm so glad that it's ours now. One more time. Yes. So with that one more time, we'll get close to the time. We all looking forward to. We'll get close to that time. But remember, it's been 365 days from this day. Yeah. This day now. Not counting from this day that we pick. So here we are again doing the same thing we've been doing all the time. Now, what we noticed last week that we got into that lesson there, you know that we had a great fall. That great fall of Goliath. David and Goliath. So we saw the fall of that. What we told you that no matter what your enemy are, God can always kill the giant. Yeah. He can always bring the giant down. Last week he brought the giant down. Whatever giant in your life, he can always bring it down. All you got to do is just believe that he can do exactly what he said he's going to do. Now, you know, this morning is our youth day. So what I'm going to do is just sit down and bring somebody up to go ahead and teach this lesson on this morning. So listen. Now, Mike, come on and have this lesson. Come on and have this lesson. Go ahead.
Good morning. Okay, so I know today lesson is focusing on genealogy. So I love to have a surprise. I like to, have my games and stuff, so y'all can stay, into it. So I got a big surprise today. I reached into my genealogy and brought a guest teacher who's gonna step in for me today. My dad. So I'm gonna step out his way and give him the stage.
Amen. We were talking about genealogy. Genealogy. That'll be not surprised. I'm not going to say I wasn't prepared for the lesson, but I didn't plan on teaching the lesson. But we know that this is a very good lesson. We're piggybacking off of what Brother Buckler already stated. We know we're heading towards Jesus being born. And when we talk about genealogy, it's very important for us to understand that everyone has some individuals in their past that they may be excited about. You may have somebody in your family that you're not excited about. Sometimes we have what we call black sheep of the family. And those individuals that we actually don't know much about because the family doesn't want to talk about them much. Because they may have done things that we call shame the family. But this lesson is going to point out to us, it doesn't matter what's in your past. If God has a plan for life, it's still going to work. So when we look at this lesson, the title of it is God brings outsiders in. And outside. When you hear the word outside, what comes to your mind? If you hear the word outside, if I say you're outside, what comes to your mind? Let's talk about it. Y'all know what different. Somebody that cast away. Somebody not included. You're not good. Not me. All right. So sometimes we look at life and say, you're not part of the club. I think that was a man by the name of Bobby Bruce, man. I might be wrong. But y'all, maybe a little bit. Have a son that said, "Never know." You know what? I know y'all do. It was a little bit. I knew somebody did. It was a little bit. He had a son that was called Never Know. In other words, he's saying the only folks who get this part of him is folks that's members. And sadly, a lot of church people, when it comes down to salvation, they picked out their own little group of people who they say we can be saved. Other folks cannot be saved. And way back young, in biblical days, they had these same concepts. So Matthew comes along now and says, we need to make sure we discuss when it comes down to salvation, how God does things. It's a good thing that God doesn't do things like we do. God says, whosoever will, let him come. But we have our own little clique, our own little crew. And we say, these are the only individuals that can be saved. So here comes God through Matthew saying, we need to understand that there is a genealogy here, and he's trying to let us know that Christ had a human side. Yeah. Because this all ties into the fact that he had to be born of a virgin. So the humanity side had to be brought in through genealogy. Let's look at this first section. Christ's genealogy, and it shows God's grace. Give me, you might want to read all those. We'll talk about it. Somebody give me a couple. I'm not sure how y'all do it. Come on, let's go read these. I know some of us will mess up some names. I know it. And some people skip over genealogy in the Bible because we cannot pronounce these names. So let's go ahead. Let's try to get through a couple of them.
All right, verse 1. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, and the son of Abraham. Verse 2. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas and his brethren. Verse 3. And Judas begat Pharez of Zara of Tamar, and Pharez begat Esrom, and Esrom begat Aram. Verse 4. And Aram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nason, and Nason begat Salmon. Verse 5. And Salmon begat Booz of Rachab, and Booz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse. Verse 6. And Jesse begat David the king, and David the king begat Solomon of her that had been the wife of Uriah.
Now, when we look at this, it was tradition and custom to make sure we understand that manhood was very important. And we had to make sure we understood that when we talk about lineage, they refer to the fact that going out through the man. You all know what they say, I know no one will become this, or I know no one will flow this. So we're looking at the fact that there were men involved here, but it shows God's grace because now we see that Matthew discusses the women, which was occasionally all right, but it wasn't always all right. Now, how does grace be about it? They say now, they time this God's grace. How did grace be about it? When we look at these individuals, the people that they named, they were not perfect people. Now, we're trying to trace Jesus, the Messiah, the promised Messiah. We're trying to trace his heritage. How can a perfect Jesus come from imperfect people? How can a perfect Jesus come down and have some folks on his family side that looks like it does some of the things they do? Let's go through this. Let's look at it. Well, it talked about Tamar. It talked about Ruth. You see those names, right? Then it didn't even mention this woman's name, but he said the woman that was married to Uriah. And you should remember who that was. You know, remember who that was? That was Bathsheba. If you don't remember Bathsheba, you remember the woman that David was going with. That he had the baby by, and the baby died because it was the captain of the other old lady. That was Bathsheba. It didn't mention her name, but it referenced her. Now, why are we referencing these individuals? Because God is showing us that, first off, there is no discrimination when it comes to his salvation. Y'all catch that? Yeah. No discrimination when it comes to his salvation. He can use anyone. Yeah. He chooses to use. Now, we also see now that the fact that you don't have to be perfect for God to use you. Right. We're going to start at Tamar. I want to look at her first. Let's look to it, Tamar. And guess what comes to? Guess what? Come on. It does say Abraham came first.
He didn't say the son of David.
Mm-hmm.
So that's now. Then I didn't look at something else. He said,
Tamar.
She was. She had twins by her dad.
And she can't get my lesson. I just said it was not Tamar. Here he goes. Just like my way, the same thing. All right, now, notice here, as I said, the book is exactly right. It started with Tamar. Now, Tamar was a woman, and we said women wasn't generally just put out there like that. But you wouldn't consider her what you call a good old lady. because she had a baby or some babies by her father-in-law. Now y'all catch this. Really and truly, she was a woman that was courageous, but she had some slick in her too. Like always, I believe that. She had some slick in her too.
Reverend.
She was married to Judah's oldest son. And by custom, y'all know the Bible custom was not like ours. In biblical custom, if the husband died, his brother could have her and have children to keep his name. All right, so we understand. Now watch this. Well, when her husband died, here comes the other brother who didn't want to have a child by her. Now, some people say that the other brother was trying to be slick. And that's the man in the Bible, when we talk about, remember, this is the book class. Remember in the Bible when they talk about, they try to tie masturbation to old name, it really wasn't that. He was supposed to lay with his sister-in-law. But he didn't want to do it because if by chance he had a child by his sister-in-law, that means now that son would get the rights and the heritage that he would have got. Y'all catch it? See, so instead of him moving up in the first place, he would still be second place. Because now his brother's son, by the wife who he had now, would now take the spot, and the oldest son would get more inheritance because it was his responsibility to take care of all. Y'all see this? All right, so this man said, no, I ain't gonna do it. Well, a husband died, Onan died, which is the other brother. Well, Judah had one more son. The other son was a young one. So what the dad said is, you going back to your dad. They don't come down. And when the older son, when the young boy gets a little older, we'll see about this thing. Well, she said, no, they trying to play me. Like most women think, he trying to play me. He ain't gonna play me like that, because I got a right to be in this family. Now, she was not a Jew. She was married to the family. So he said, now, what I'm gonna do is, she played the harlot. Y'all know the harlot is. She knew daddy-in-law was gonna come through the way and see a good-looking lady. And he was gonna walk. Y'all catch it now. Some folks say she was wrong. But was she really wrong, or was the dad-in-law really wrong? Because the dad-in-law saw this old lady and said, okay, I'll take her. And he laid with his daughter-in-law and had some twins by her. So when people came to try to act like she was so wrong, the dad-in-law had to admit, well, she's wrong, I'm wrong too. Because he had done what he had done. So now, why is this important? This is important because out of her twin that she had by Judah, remember, Jesus was going to come through Judah. So one of her twins was going to be a forefather of Jesus. How in the world did Jesus come from a woman like that? Well, you got to look at your own life. If Jesus can do something through your life, then you come through his life. And it had to be shown here to let us know that it doesn't matter how bad we mess up. If God has a plan for your life, don't you get discouraged, don't you get all down and out. You may mess up, but God's plan will always work. Because God shows us grace. Now, watch this. We said now, we had these twins, we had her. Now, it talks about Ruth. It introduced Ruth. And all y'all know Boaz. So many folks on Facebook and that, I'm waiting for my Boaz. Y'all got all that going on now. But now remember, understand when we're talking about Boaz and Ruth. Ruth told her mother-in-law, I'm going to stay with you. Ruth had enough courage to say, I'm going to get Boaz, and he's going to marry me. And his people were going to be saved. Her people would be saved. She was a Moabite. And they weren't supposed to be up with anybody else. Somebody did right now. Somebody out there looking. You had time in your life when folks have told you your family ain't nothing. Y'all ain't never be nothing. You will never have anything. But the good news is, if God has a plan, it doesn't matter what other folks think about you. That's a shout point right there. The shout point is, God can say, y'all look down all y'all want to. But if I want to work through that family, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if they know for lying, they know for stealing, they know for cheating, they know for getting drunk. God said, I can bring a Savior through that family. And he showed this by the other Messiah, Jesus, coming through a family that wasn't a perfect family. Now, he goes through Tamar, he goes through Ruth, He goes from Rahab, the prostitute, go now. Yes, you back up. Come on, back up. Mm-hmm. Wasn't it white? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the first time. Then his son Jacob comes along and did the same thing. No lie. So it's not
A family of liars.
a family of lying, a family of deceit. This is God's family. What you said, now, we look at our family.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that our family got the first. We got the people in the family. We don't say anything to them.
That's right.
God, they not us. But what you got to realize, God is changing it. And this was this begin with. He took this happened. So they were saying somebody that we have a king and a throne.
Yeah, the king. Mm-hmm.
But look at God.
Look what he does.
We look down and got some of, and I would find some of the worst.
Some of the words.
And I'm brought some.
And brought some of the bit. And then too, brother, think about this. When we talk about, we always say, Abraham had a son. Isaac was the only one. We say no son. You do know Isaac wasn't Abraham's first son. That was Ishmael. That was a whole other son that they had. See, so there was a lot going on in his family. And the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. Everything going on right now in the world, it went on back then too. Now, they didn't record all of it. They didn't have Facebook. Well, they had Facebook back then. Well, it showed up everywhere. Can you imagine the king going in with his captains, that old lady, and getting the kids he got pregnant? Can you imagine how that's on Facebook? But so, all this went on. All this went on. But Jesus still can't do that family. That gives us hope. That gives everybody hope to know if Jesus can come to that family. Truly something good come out of my family. Truly, it can be somebody staying in my family. If all this went on. And you think about when we talk about Bathsheba, we say now, understand, it didn't name her, but understand, she was a lady that really was put in a bad spot. Because if the king sent for you and you didn't come, you had to die anyway. See, because the king ran everybody, so she was kind of put in a bad spot. But yet still, the prophet was Jesus gonna come out of that family. Y'all got it. So that shows grace and gives all those hope. All right, now, let's go to that second section. Let's go to that second section and see what we have here.
Section 2.
Hold on. I tell you, I ain't been Sunday school. You know why we talk about that. I didn't go to the question. The question says, what are some practical ways to implement intentional, non-discriminatory evangelism? In other words, how can you get to the point where you say, you know what I can do? I can stop looking at some people and act like they can't be saved. And I can tell them about Christ and what Christ will do in their lives. Come on, talk to me. We can say that. We can tell people, hey, we all sinners. Come on. Being open-minded. Come on. Come on, somebody else. Come on.
Humbling yourself.
Humbling yourself. And that's something that church, I don't like to talk about church over here this morning. But church supposed to be some of the most ugly folks. Act like they ain't never done anything. Act like they ain't never talked about it. I remember once a man, we got mad at dad once. We laughed so much on this stuff pretty good. But they were talking about, I don't go to the club. I don't never go to the club. He told me, you ain't got to go to the club. Y'all was drinking party at your house every day. What's that in the club for? Your house is the club. Because some of us, we think we doing all right. And we just as bad as everybody else. And when you humble yourself, you realize I'm in no position to look down on anyone. If God delivered you, that gives everybody else hope he can deliver himself. And that's how we have to look at it. So we have to be willing to recognize everybody. You can't look down on individuals because they're somewhere. And sadly, some of us don't understand that some people don't do better because they just don't know better. They just don't know better. If we introduce them to Christ and do our part to better down them, then just maybe they'll do a little better. All right, so let's go. Yes, sir. The second step. Mm-hmm. We're going to the second step. I'm about to put you out my class. You trying to put me, hey, you trying to teach class. I'm about to put you out my class. Hey, But a brother trying to take over my class. You in school and took over my class. They trying to take over my class. And I usually go get a sign, that sign with those. Say, hey, what is that? That's it. Come fire. My class. That's what I used to do. So I need to get a sign put on it. So I got the class. All right. But that is the first 14. I was child there. That's the first 14. So now, let's go to the next section. Come to me. God's purpose.
Verse 7, and Solomon begat Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begat Abiah, and Abiah begat Asa. Verse 8, and Asa begat Josaphat, and Josaphat begat Joram, and Joram begat Ozias. Verse 9, and Ozias begat Joatham, and Joatham begat Achias, and Achias begat Ezekias. Verse 10, and Ezekias begat Manasseh, and Manasseh begat Amon, and Amon begat Ozias. Verse 11, and Josias begat Jeconias and his brethren about the time they were carried away to Babylon.
All right, now, we see now they talk about them being carried away to Babylon. Now, remember, you got to understand the story of him. Israel had this thing going, Christ made sure he was God promised them. Man, took the money and all that good stuff. So they got carried away to Babylon in captivity. They got Babylon in captivity. Now, we have kings here. We're talking about kings here. They talk about 14 generations here as it was with the first generation, the first 14. These kings include some good kings and some bad kings. Once again, Christ is showing us that throughout life, you're going to deal with some good and you're going to deal with some bad. But yet it's still, his purpose is still there. If God has a purpose, it's still there. But now, within this, notice here, when they talk about these kings, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that good stuff, it was saying that the promise was still there. There are 7 covenants, remember, 7 covenants that God had in the Old Testament. We had the Abrahamic covenant, and now we're looking at the Davidic covenant, the covenant to David. The covenant to David, God promised him that his lineage would always be a king. All right, God promised him that. Then God also promised that he was going to have those children and they were going to be great. So now watch this. Within that, even though God promised him that, some of those kings wasn't. They were still in the David. In your family. I don't care how holy your family is.
All right.
I don't care your church, your family, been in churches, established churches. Everybody was a deacon, everybody was a mother, everybody was a preacher, y'all all there, I was sung in the choir. I guarantee you, it's some crooks in your family that like to sit out there. Guarantee you. Why is that? Because all of us have some issues in our family. So we have to understand, David, don't see it. David was one of the biggest crooks. But yet God still said he loved him. So within this crew here, you had all these individuals that had done some things, some believed God, some didn't. But yet still, we understand God still had a purpose. And it shows us that God still keeps his promise. Some of us today are living off the promises that God made to our forefathers. You may have somebody 800 years ago that was praying and God said, I promise you, I'm going to make sure I take care of your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. Some of us living off the prayers of others. And we got to be thankful for that. Because if it was for us to have to pray by ourselves, some of us will never pray. Some of us will never respect God. But God said, you had somebody way back yonder that I made a promise to. And it shows that God keeps his promises. So God kept the promises and said, David, I made this promise to you. Your children are going to sit on the throne. And then look at this. He even got to Solomon and said, your son is going to be the one to build the temple. And to rebuild it, the temple had been destroyed. So this shows us that no matter what, God still has a plan. Now remember, the big picture. We look at small pieces. But remember the big picture. The big picture is Jesus coming through. Coming through all these crooks. All these no good folks. All these no good kings. There's some good kings in there too. There's some good folks in there too. But Jesus coming through. Even have some outside, some folks that wasn't supposed to be in there. They're still right there. Jesus still coming through. It shows that when God has a purpose, it doesn't matter what other folks do. It don't matter what you do. God's will be done. It's going to be done. So you have to worry. And I talk a lot of times about this too. We always talk about from a pastor, and we talk about the flaws of biblical characters. If you study the Bible, you'll see, man, there's some no good folks in the Bible. But God still used you. And God did still promise, okay, now you did this, I'm going to take care of you. Rahab actually was a prostitute that spies came in. And she saved the spies. And her whole family was saved. Even though she was old. Because she did something for God's people. That shows us that we have hope. And notice here, she's still in the Christ. Here comes Jesus, coming through 42 generations. But Buster said already said it. He coming through 42 generations. He don't 42 just yet, but we coming. He coming. He coming through. He coming through. Now, he's coming through all these no good folks, all these outsiders, all these folks that people say they shouldn't have a king coming through. There's no way a Messiah is coming through these people. But he's right there. Here it is. Coming through. Y'all get me? All right, here's our question they have here. That's what I'm talking about. Come on, throw one in there.
Sometimes we look at people we saying they even say they ain't going to be Lord blessing them with everything. We don't know. Sometimes they're doing stuff with God that we don't know. We don't do.
Because they ain't telling anybody. They ain't telling anybody. And that's the whole thing.
Doing stuff with God, new church will be sent by that big opportunity.
But we need to have a church now. We need to have a church. They can do what God will do. See, so you have to be careful with it. You have to be very careful when you thinking that someone is what you think they are. Our thoughts of individuals would not change how God thinks about it. Some of us think because we don't like somebody, God don't like it. And church will get it real bad. Church will get it real bad. I ain't saying, how would you know? You got to make sure you say it. The Bible said, let a man examine himself. Well, you better watch everybody else. Look out of your own self. Check your own self. Stop trying to worry about somebody else doing it and look at your own self. Because man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. Y'all got it. And it's going on that God can use someone that you think is no good to do his will. Prove that in the Bible. But these same children, a lot of times you'll see that the Bible says that God used their enemies to get them back to him. Sometimes God uses your enemies. That might lie on you. When they stop lying on you, you stop coming to church. When they stop talking about you, you stop paying time. When they stop talking about you, and they wasn't doing you bad, you would mistreat folks yourself because you were too high. Look down. But as soon as they got back on you and started treating you bad, you came back to church. You hit church, shout, praising God, you want to sing, you want to pray. Sometimes it takes hell to get your mind. Sometimes it takes it. Y'all got it. Come on. Don't say it. You already put up there. We ain't gonna call out. Come on.
In the beginning was God already had his plan that they that he created. It just starts with this here. So Luke does know it's not his great God happened.
It's always happening.
So we look at that. It's just not something where folks don't see how to do something.
But God planned. The Bible says that Jesus was the lamb that was slain in the foundation of the world, the foundation of the earth. In other words, God's plan was already set. I had one of my friends calling the one who was talking. He's like, how is your Bible? He said, why do we pray? If God already knows what we're going to do, he already knows what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. When we ask him to give it, he already knows what we're going to get something again. You know all that. Now, I tell you, now look, we're just to the point where we're just expressing the fact to God, that we want you to intervene in our lives. But yes, God knows everything. God has a plan for your life before you were born. Come in, Jeremiah. He told Jeremiah, before I formed you, before your daddy knew your mom. Your mom was in Chicago, your daddy was on the coast of us. I knew your daddy was going to come down there, her daddy tree, and go see your mama out there clean up, and go like her, and they gonna hook up, and they gonna be together, and you gonna be going, God, I already knew all that. He knew it already. Now, that's good news to know that God knows us, and he already planned for your life. That's good news. He already knew. He
do it. But the important here is, what we keep emphasizing here is, God had a purpose, God had a plan, and He needed us to know, to give us hope, that no matter how bad your history is, no matter how bad your family is, no matter how many crooks in there, there's still hope. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to go to the next part. You got enough crooks in your own family. You're not worried about the crooks in your family. Y'all check what I said, you got enough in your own family. You're not worried about the one in my family. So you really get to focus on your own group, your own group. And just thank God and shout, thank the Lord. That He saved me, that I could have been, probably should have been. But God got enough, and in that first section there, I got some grace. If it had not been the Lord. But here comes Jesus coming through all these no good folks, some good folks, that give us hope. That give us hope. That lets us know there's no excuse. If Jesus can be who He was, coming through all them, you can be all right, coming through all your folks. You can be, you ain't got to do it. It's a choice. Y'all get it. And Christ, you know, I get our question here. How should your knowing that God will allow nothing to prevent the fulfilling His purpose motivate you to leave? No matter how bad these teens were, no matter how many crooks in their family, God still said, Jesus gonna come through here. How can that motivate you to fulfill God's will? He can do anything. He can do anything. He did it before, what was the say? He did it before. He'll do it again. So I can keep going. I know my life will be all right because Christ has shown, God has shown that He can go into a family of no good folks and put out the greatest man they ever lived. They ever walked the face of the earth. And He did it then. And the Bible says He got respect of person. Almost says no secret. What God can do, what He done for others, He'll do the same thing for you. Y'all get it. All right? Come on, dog. Talk to me. Lord. Everybody kill me. All over.
When you talk about my family, you talk about a whole lot of people in the family that talk about the same thing come out now. It wasn't my big.
But it is anyway.
Yeah. I look at myself, I can't do that.
Can't
I'm that good, but I can't do the same stuff that was happening in all them buildings. Let me ask you.
No, okay, well, that's right. But y'all cool. Yeah. That's right. Everybody was in the same spot. But look how God can work. And that gives us hope. And the key to living life is to always have hope and know that Christ can work on your situation. All right, let's go. Last section. God's salvation. Christ in God. Last section. Talk to us.
Verse 12.
Now remember, we had these bad teams to cut out that one. Come on. I apologize.
Verse 12. And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconiah begat Salathiel, and Salathiel begat Zerubbabel. Verse 13. And Zerubbabel begat Abiad, and Abiad begat Eliakim, and Eliakim begat Azor. Verse 14. And Azor begat Sadak, and Sadak begat Akim, and Akim begat Eliad. Verse 15. And Eliad begat Eliezer, and Eliezer begat Mathan, and Mathan begat Jacob. Verse 16. And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom born Jesus, who is called Christ. Verse 17. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David until carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations. And from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations.
Now, what is he showing here? Now, here's what Brother was doing. We always hear the priest say he came through 42 generations. 14, 14, and 14. 42 generations. Now, 14 is 2 times 7. Now, I got that. 7 in the Bible is the number of what? Completion. Some of those say it was doubly completed. It was overwhelmingly completed. Because now we have all these versions of 7 or multiple 7. We have 6 multiples of 7, in 42. Now, so what Christ is showing here, I have come for all this humanity to show you that my plan for salvation and what I said is still going to work. The Jews had to be told and shown that Christ was going to come through their lineage. All right, but now, some of them still didn't believe, but he showed through person by person. He walked it down through here to let you know that my plan of salvation is still true. My humanity is still going to be there through Christ Jesus. And Christ, you know, that's the open, Christos. So he said, now, what you have to understand here is, I have a plan to save you. And it was a plan based on a child being born of a virgin. And he just walked all the way through, piece by piece, to give us hope, to give us courage, and to let us know that Christ, God's will always be done. It doesn't matter what you have going on, he still has a plan for you. Y'all got this. All right, last part here. Who are some people? Who are some people, a group that God has called the church to reach for salvation? Give me somebody talk to them. They can show, okay, brother, you may be considered outside, but Christ is showing us that you can be saved too, because he came through all this. He come everywhere else. Somebody talk to them. Give me a group of people. Somebody tell me some people that we should evangelize to show them that they can still be saved. I'll say, okay, right? That generation of people.
That's showing us we can be a guide for everybody.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Also, the race, come to me.
It was a lot of people out in the past. He had all these children, and they both all of that fine line. You go to this one, and go by our next one, and the first one got named on United seven church body.
Fine night.
All of them had fine line. When he died, it was a bit just like So the first one, they saw it, all the rest of the same thing in their land, or they put on solid ground, they said they didn't see. And I'm like, you know, I'm going to buy all these things. You know,
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? Your father was smart me, I know. The one time, sir, he was going to call the wrong name. He called the wrong name, y'all. They all like the same name. And I don't know how you look at her. Look at her. That was smart. I was like, fuck with me. That was smart. He said, John, come here. He ain't never know name. The thing is, but the thing is, though, and we see how all these families have all these issues, and that shows us, but families are going to have issues. But once again, this message shows us we have hope. We have hope. God gives us faith. Jesus came from a messed up family. His family has some everything in the background. So, thank God, we have hope. Come on, folks. Homeless people. That's a group that we can recognize and let them know that things can be better. And when we think about homeless people and people that struggle in life, a lot of times it's self-inflicted, but sometimes it's just situational inflicted. And we don't know the difference. But at the end of the day, whatever the situation is, if people need hope, it's our duty. Some of us think that, well, it ain't my fault. You should have went to school. You should have dropped out. Okay, the only reason you still here is because of grace. Because we have made all the right decisions. None of us here have made all of the perfect decisions for our lives. Everyone here has done something. You made a decision that you regret later on in life. But thank God. And God can clean up not only the mess that other people make in our lives, the mess we make in our own life. He cleaned it up too. That's the message right there. All right, so any other questions? Thank God for you. I'm going to bring you back to Brother Buster and let him finish up. I know he'll have something How you know it? Because we always have something. Don't bring the bucket back up. Thank God for it. Thank God for that.
Well, it's not what I can say. He covered, I'm sure what she's gonna say, and I'm prepared to cover whatever covered. But it's just great to have our pastors to do it. To go through these generations to let you know, no matter where you come from. Again, it's not where you come from, it's where you're going.
Yes, right.
So it's not about what blood you have, because Christ is saying that all this DNA you got, all that bad DNA, he can change it. So when you got God on your side, don't worry about what my uncle done. All you got to do is just believe that God can do this for you. I let the pastor make that feel about our DNA, how we look down at people in our family, but you have to remember who you are. You came from the same people. So that same blood is somewhere in your bloodline. You just got God to fix it for you. When you do something like that, then all you got to do is turn it over to Him and let Him fix it. You know, because the lesson was done good. I'm not going back over anything. I just hope everybody understood what was going on with our family. How we look over people because they're not what we are. And we know that they got you here. You the reason they're here because of that bloodline. I got told you all the time. God already knew me before I knew myself. God already knew you before you knew yourself. So what I'm gonna do is bring the next person up there, and you thought that was it. And we got something else with you. Then we're gonna let go. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Joyce.
For the mic. You got the head foot really loud.
This is our young folk day. Amen. This is saying here.
Yes, Lord. That's good.
You know my name. Lord, how you comfort me. Lord, how you cancel me. And it still amazes me that I am your own. So now I pour out my heart to you. Here in your presence, I am made new. So now I pour out my heart to you. Hallelujah. Here in your presence, I am made new. You know my name. You know my name. You know my name. You know my name. Lord, how you walk with me. Lord, how you talk with me. Lord, how you tell me that